All right, what's up, Art 2? Let's talk about some thumbnail sketches we need to do for our illustrated quote project before we actually really dive into the rough draft and final draft. So let's take you through the instructions for today. So we're going to do this in class. I wanted us to watch this graphic design video again just to talk about the fundamentals of graphic design, because we are bringing in some graphic design elements to this project because we have to think about layout. This is a really good video about line and form and texture as well, and shape, and balance. So take a look at this video. We'll watch it in class. If you got kicked out of the Zoom room, then just watch it now. Oops, here we go. Okay, and then I also wanted to look at some examples of the illustrations we've looked at before, just to remind you of what the project is asking for. So remember, you chose a quote or a song lyric or a little bit of a poem or something, and that's your quote, and you have to kind of set up this kind of layout and composition, and have imagery that goes along with the quote that you want to illustrate. So here's some examples of more like children's storybook kind of things. Okay, and then we have some other ones that are a little more probably up your guys' alley, a little more serious, not so kindergarten. um, and we can get really, really creative with this stuff. So we have a balance of, our text, our words, and then the imagery that goes along with it to sort of tell the story behind the quote, or to go along with the quote. So it's nice and illustrated and it all goes together. Okay. So here are examples. And for you, I have some instructions for you. Okay. We can't just dive into a rough draft. We need to experiment a little. Now, when I was in high school, my teacher made us make 10 sketches of all of our projects. So I'm only asking for two. So I think I'm being really, really easy on you. I just want you to create a couple sketches just to experiment with, your wording, how you're going to lay out the text, how you're going to, intertwine the imagery that goes along with it, just to experiment a little. You might think you have one idea set in your head and you want to make it that way, but you do another sketch and it looks a lot better. So just a couple sketches. From the video, that graphic design video, they emphasize a lot on line, shape, form, and texture. So I want you to keep that in mind. Be aware of your lines, and implied lines too. Like, your text kind of sits on implied lines. So think about that. We're not making flat art that's boring. So we do need to think about, having our imagery be three-dimensional, and we worked so much with texture on our last project. So, texture should be a part of your project in some way. And then a big thing though for us is going to be balance. So the idea with balance, you have all this text and this imagery that you want to intermingle together. Some of you have much longer quotes, and so if you have like a longer quote like you see here, you might just need like less imagery or smaller imagery so that the picture is balanced out. Or if you have a shorter quote like you see here, then you probably want to balance it out with more imagery. It really depends on what you want to do. See, this one over here is a little imbalanced because we have text right here and then kind of like nothing right there. But then you might want that, depending on what you're trying to say. Just make sure that we're not putting a couple words on a paper with a couple teeny tiny drawings and then nothing else. We want to fill our space in a way that makes sense, with what you're trying to do. Okay. So we need that sense of balance. So you're gonna keep all those things in mind, keep balance in mind, as you're doing your sketches, and experiment with the composition. And then, as usual, take a couple sketches. Okay, I mean, take a couple pictures. Take a picture of your first sketch and insert it there, and then your second sketch and insert it there. And then I will give you feedback on which one I think looks best. It's probably the one that you really like, also. So yeah, that's your assignment. Good luck, and I'll talk to you soon.